for three. Good!
Now, I don't know about you, but I am hype about our topic today, folks. Why? Because the Milwaukee Bucks are a team that just about anybody that follows basketball can get behind. Let's be real, we all love Giannis. To me, the most exhilarating player in the league today. Bottom line, I've never met a Giannis hater in my life, and if anyone watching this video is a Giannis hater, allow me to kindly show you the door. It's that back arrow in the upper left hand of the screen. Please leave, because there must be something severely wrong with you. So, the Greek Freak, real lovable young superstar, lovable dude with a lovable game. And, well, today we'll be looking at how we can send a few haters at his neck. Because we all know how this story goes. They all love you until they hate you. And when do they hate you? When you begin to win. Steph, Bron, Kyrie, Wade, Kobe, KG, the list goes on. And let me tell you, it does not end. Especially the players that started off as nobodies, like Steph and Giannis, Kobe in a way. You come out of nowhere, and all of a sudden you're simply balling out. The opposition has got no answer for you because they've never seen you do what you're doing. Like when Steph came out firing in MSG, dropped 54, and the defense didn't know what hit him. They were clueless. Quickly, you become the next Cinderella story. Everyone and their grandma is on your nuts. Then one day, you become too good. Now you're dominating the league. You win a chip, people are behind you. You're still dominating out the gates the next season at an even higher rate. And that's when people begin to fall off the wagon. Why? Because you're simply not a surprise anymore. They want to see you fail because it ain't too often that you do. And then you do. Now you got these haters truly on your case. You're washed, you're overrated, and they say that they had you pegged and you just proved them right. And they move on to the next. Well, people, Giannis is the next. And I want to see some real disdain. I mean, I want to see pure, fiery red hate, loathing, disgust. Why? Because I want to see him succeed. Now, in the recent past, the Bucks have been anything but special. Truly the definition of mediocre. And it almost seemed that they were content with where they were. They didn't take many risks. They didn't build for the future. They traded Bogue's elite presence for Monte Ellis simply because he had health issues and they didn't have the patience. They didn't take a bet on Steph Curry. Again, no patience. And FYI, if anyone wants to check out the what if Steph got shipped to Milwaukee instead of Monte scenario, link is in the description. But the trend continued. They didn't want to see where Tobias Harris could end up. They preferred a Redick piece who ended up a rental, again, as a rushed move to stay relevant-ish, but not serious winners by any means. Just end of the conference below 500 squads that still hopefully snuck into the playoffs. Well, as we all know by now, that is no longer the case. Giannis was the first symbolic icon of this shift in culture, and now we see him staying true to the process with other young contributors, Brogdon, Maker, Jabari, etc. And they didn't give up on Middleton either when he went down. They didn't look for a flashier replacement to his consistent all-around game. With the exceptions of Odin and Dellavedova, there weren't any short-sighted trap moves of that nature. And either way, both moves were definitely understandable considering they didn't have the clout that they're beginning to acquire now at that time. Of course, the Bledsoe package included dropping Odin, which is the largely underrated aspect of this deal in my opinion. Now, make no mistake, Eric Bledsoe is not a franchise changer nor a franchise revamper by any means. However, the timing is finally exactly right. Giannis now has his first star sidekick, and Bledsoe, he truly won the lottery. I mean, coming from the basketball depths of Phoenix to an ideal situation with one of the league's most dynamic young superstars alongside him, the MVP favorite. Clearly a desperately needed morale boost for Bledsoe, but more impactfully for the entire Milwaukee Bucks themselves. Now you enter Bledsoe, comes only 10 games deep, plenty of time to assimilate and recover after a disappointing start. But further than that, how close does he bring them to championship contention or even baby steps among the leaders of the Eastern Conference? Because as insurmountable as the West is, we can't overlook the fact that the East is rounding out with some very tough teams at the top. Boston, Washington. No matter where Cleveland is, they still got some dude named LeBron. That Toronto Raptors squad isn't about to go away that easy. You got younger teams with promise like Orlando, Philly, even Detroit. Couple flukes or not, a few squads on that list are absolutely no laughing matter. But before we can ascertain how they can conquer these teams, we must ascertain where they currently stand. So where does Bledsoe fit in Milwaukee? And where does Milwaukee with him fit in the East? Well, first of all, let's take a look at the key areas where the Bucks are coming up short. Consider how well Bledsoe can elevate those aspects. And now, believe it or not, the Bucks completely lost their defensive identity last season. I'd say in large part due to Chris Middleton's injury, but there were definitely other factors, which is held up by the fact that their struggles on D haven't ceased by any means thus far into this season. Bledsoe rounds out the perimeter defense perfectly. Bledsoe, Middleton, Giannis, Snell, Brogdon. The pieces are there. Now it's up to Coach Kidd's system, which has had its fair share of faults last season. Most importantly, he's got to clean up those rotations. For some reason, he's continuously refused to stagger his key contributors in with the bench group, leaving the backup guys out there all alone for long stretches at a time. Eric Bledsoe allows him more time to allocate in that regard, and the pressure will be on him now for real, so hopefully he will respond. Now, I've been working on another video in conjunction with this that I'll upload shortly, and once y'all see that, this will all make a ton more sense. But a theme of that is Golden State's interchangeable pieces that you can plug and play into the same role. What's beautiful about the Bledsoe addition is that he's quite capable of playing Malcolm Brogdon's role right off the bat, and that ability will simplify staggering lineups for Jason Kidd. On top of that, speaking of Golden State's system, the Milwaukee Bucks did have a bright spot in their defense last season, given they had, I believe, the closest makeshift death lineup to Golden State's original death squad, which included Brogdon, Snell, Middleton, Giannis, and Maker. Last season, that lineup had a defensive rating of 99.8 in comparison to GSW's 98.4. Yeah, extremely close. Now they can throw Brogdon and Bledsoe in place of Snell, and while the defensive rating may slip ever so slightly, the offense undoubtedly improves with Eric Bledsoe, given how effective Golden State's death lineup is on both ends of the floor. This gives them a better shot at being proportionate to GSW, both offensively and defensively. This type of lineup is the future of the league, and mastering it gives Giannis the best chance to compete in this era going forward. Even Bledsoe and Snell would improve the lineup offensively while keeping the defense consistent. Now, the Bucks aren't a poor shooting team per se. However, a player like Giannis thrives off of spot-up shooters. Open up a glimmer of space for him to penetrate, and that's that. With players like the Greek Freak, you can never have too many shooters. Much like what the Orlando Magic had planned with Dwight back in the day. Unfortunately, Bledsoe isn't a knockdown guy, but at about 35%, he's not a liability either, and he can certainly help the situation. Where you might imagine the problem does arise is the fact that he too, like Giannis, relies heavily on attacking the rim in his offensive game. You don't want these opportunities taken away from Giannis, who should still be the primary ball handler with his elite abilities. But Earl Watson, who coached Bledsoe during the latter half of his stint with the Suns, stated that he believes Eric Bledsoe's actually more effective when he attacks off the catch, giving him a chance to catch his defender off guard and use his speed to blow by him. And from what I've seen on tape, this does seem to be the case. I mean, it makes sense. Bledsoe's stout yet small body type gives him the right balance of quickness and strength to slither past opponents when they're out of position. This is huge because it allows for two important things to come into play. One, though they can flip the roles occasionally, Giannis is still left with the most control, because Bledsoe can be somewhat of a double threat when he's out on the three-point line. He's capable of hitting the open jumper or attacking, and he can use the same aforementioned skills to move and cut off the ball. Second, with Giannis shouldering most of the load offensively, Bledsoe can now retort the criticism he's received on his half-assed defensive efforts. We know, even without his all, he's an above-average defender. With less pressure on offense, he'll have more energy, and I expect him to be elite. If not, then he'll truly deserve those critiques. Now let's revert back to Malcolm Brogdon for a second. Every rose has its thorn, and with this deal, that thorn is definitely Brogdon. I talked earlier about their interchangeability, but these two still have their differences. Brogdon uses a lot more finesse when attacking and finishing at the rim, while Bledsoe tends to pummel through using strength and athleticism. Now, Malcolm isn't necessarily young at 24. However, he's still got a ton of room for growth entering into his sophomore season. Bledsoe will definitely eat into his development. The silver lining, though, is that Malcolm's tremendous basketball IQ does translate into his maturity for a second-year player, and he should adjust very well. I don't think it'll affect him mentally much at all. Still, though, the lack of time equals lack of experience, no matter how you cut it. Regardless, one other crucial weakness that I've slept on is rebounding. Now, Milwaukee's been abysmal on the boards, and don't get me wrong, Bledsoe's formidable for a 6-foot point guard. However, losing Odin's 6'11" presence makes this sort of a neutral move in that regard. However, the fact that Odin's fallen out of the team's future nonetheless makes it a smart move either way. And the point remains, Bledsoe may not be a huge force in some of Milwaukee's shortcomings, but he's an upgrade in most and a liability in none. Absolute steal for the Bucks, not just a win now move, but a win later move as well, as they've also shaved off a little bit of cap with this deal. And now with 2 stars and the clout that comes with that, they'll be looking for a splash next offseason if they're willing to pay the luxury and able to find the right fit. We could see them up there with Boston and maybe Washington running the East for years to come. As always, thoughts, feelings, perspectives at any point in the video, leave them down below. If you're new and you made it this far, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe for more, and make sure that bell is hit as well for post notifications, as I'll be back very soon with some more bangers. Clay Allen, stay ballin', and I'm signing off. Peace.